What up, though? This is Knockouts and Three Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts and Three Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It is another Thursday, and unfortunately, after this show, that means I do gotta get up and try not to go postal in this motherfucker. But hey, at least I am making the almighty dollar. But with that being said, this is another episode of Knockouts and 3 Counts, and man, I would say we got a few things to talk about, huh?
I would say so.
Finally, the return of the actual sport that we love to talk about in MMA/UFC coming on the weekend. Plenty of big topics in the news, of course. Like it has been a reoccurring theme, I guess, ever since the turn of the year. So yeah, I would say so. I would say we got quite a bit to talk about on this one, boys.
The best news being UFC is back, right? I mean, we've waited, what was it, 4 weeks? 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was 4 weeks. Yeah, it was 4. It was so a month. Here we are, month off.
The drought
All
is
of us
over.
had barely any skin left on our neck from itching so hard, but here we are, coming into the main event and stuff. You know, with all the changes and stuff, it's going to be an interesting weekend. But
before we get to MMA and get to the UFC, you know, I feel like we're skipping over the big elephant and the big cloud in the room. You know, a lot of changes seem to be on the way for the state of pro wrestling. And speaking of the state of pro wrestling, shout out to the new sponsors of Knockouts and 3 Counts, State of Pro Wrestling. Check out the links to their YouTube channel that are in the description as well. With that being said, make sure you check them out for all the good stuff they've got coming there. We appreciate y'all coming on and checking out the boys at Knockouts and 3 Counts. But like I said, with all this news with Vince McMahon and all that's going on with it, man, the state of pro wrestling is definitely in flux. J-Bone, what are you thinking about everything that we've heard so far with the return of Vince McMahon? You've got the impending sale of WWE. It could possibly going to Saudi Arabia. Stephanie McMahon steps down. I mean, holy shit.
It is a whirlwind of our childhood. Like we talked the other day, Kyle, our childhood is just crumbling and turning and twisting and taking us on a roller coaster. It's all coming to an end, dude. And it's sad. It's honestly sad to see it
in a blaze of glory.
In such weird fashion, you know, it's just like, it's a sad situation. You know what I mean? Like the sport you know and love, the wrestling you know and love all these years is taking one of the weirdest left turns ever. Something you just would never imagine happening while you're alive. But I'll tell you what, I'm saving my money. So if you guys want to throw down on this whole buying of the WWE thing, I am down with it.
Hell yeah. After my next paycheck, we are definitely going to be in the running for that motherfucker. Rename it the Knockouts and 3 Counts Royal Rumble. Son of a bitch. That's what it's going to be. 2024. You heard it here first.
With our budget, we can use plastic belts.
I definitely got 5 on it, boys, for sure.
He said I got 5 on it. 5 billion? You got 5 billion on it?
Yeah, that's a start, man. Let's
No,
go.
Shit.
but
Well,
in all seriousness, before we transition off of this, because I got some thoughts too. I mean, really, this
oh,
Saudi
we ain't
Arabia thing,
transitioning for a minute. There's a lot to unpack with
this Saudi Arabia thing is really, I don't know if you guys were. I just so happened to be hanging out with the old lady scrolling the old Twitter machine and seen it kind of unfolding as it was coming across, and there was like I forget who exactly posted it first, but it was like one of them, like random-ish sites that is less credit. Like they post news stories
Dirt
and break
sheets.
stuff
They're
occasionally,
just
but
dirt sheets.
yeah, they were
Dirty ones too.
one of the less credible ones. So I'm like, okay, maybe what's going on with this type of shit, and then transition to that to all of a sudden you start seeing it kind of unfold over more legitimate outlets and stuff, and then the sale is all but announced as a pending thing at that point. By the time I had closed my eyes to go to sleep, wake up the next morning, turns out that's all a publicity thing where they're just kind of throwing feelers out there,
Yeah.
which sounds to me like maybe they had like felt the pressure and like maybe we can't go through with this immediately. It doesn't mean that won't be the case within a couple weeks or something, but
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's a very interesting time, and of all the ways that you could have seen the Vince McMahon empire fall, I guess, like I say, in a blaze of glory, man.
But
It's
Corey, I don't want to cut you off,
unbelievable.
though. I don't want to cut you off, but I mean, you say the Vince McMahon empire falling. I don't necessarily think that's what we're seeing, though, because you got to look at this for what it is. Number one, shout out to past guests of the show, Eric Bischoff. I listened to his podcast, Strictly Business, and I mean, I don't know that this is necessarily his empire falling. Now, did the all the allegations hurt him? Yeah, necessarily. Is it falling in the sense that maybe he won't be in power forever anymore? But let's not miss this for what it is. This is a power move, dude.
Yeah.
He got voted off the island pretty much once all the allegations came and all that. And now that all the news has come out, he's got 80% of the controlling shares, in that company, meaning there is no way they can push him out the way that Ted Turner got pushed out of WCW and Time Warner.
Son of a bitch.
There ain't no way he can do that. When he comes back, people start resigning, the biggest of which being his daughter.
His own daughter. That's like, man, I'm just, as a father of 2 girls, if I ever was like, hey, you want to help me run this business that I've worked my whole life to grow, and then like, oh hey, I'm gonna take reins back in because whatever the case, I'm looking for the best proposition for sale.
He didn't take the control that she had away, though. That's the thing. He didn't take Triple H or Stephanie's control away. He's strictly involved on the rights deal portion and the sale of the company.
From a lot of the reports I'm seeing too, though, the reason why they're pursuing outlets that are private sales to make the company private again is so that Vince can step in and not have to worry about shareholders and stuff like that whenever he wants.
Sure, that's all been speculated. I've definitely seen that. I mean, but we haven't seen anything really materialize as a deal.
Yeah, very
but
true,
the craziest thing of it is like the news that when it all first came out was it was going to Saudi Arabia. And here's the thing, bro. If it went to Saudi Arabia, all I can think of is it's like, I've heard this guy that called in to, Bust It Open. Shout out to our guys, Ryan McKinnell and Dave LaGreca, which are both past guests of the show. But, with that being said, he was saying how Saudi Arabia really loves WWE and that they're more familiar with WWE athletes than they are like Tom Brady and people of that nature there, and that they would only want to see it grow. But, and this is only from my standpoint and as a fan standpoint and all that, the first thing that immediately came to my head is, number one, Sami Zayn is one of the hottest things they have in that company right now. Sami Zayn cannot compete in Saudi Arabia because of his ethnicity. So how the hell is that going to work? Then on top of that, you've
His
got the fact.
ethnicity is why he can't
Well,
compete over there.
Syria. He's from Syria. They're at war with Syria.
Oh, I didn't know he was okay. Go on. Sorry to interrupt.
So
I just
no, you're
was
good.
unaware.
No. He's from Syria, and then on top of that, the more obvious of the two, you've got the fact that we all know what the situation is with women over there. How can your women's division still stay prominently? It will here in the States, but I mean, yes, that could be good, I guess, in the sense if you think of it as okay, maybe that opens doors for more, women to have higher spot like that. But that these are just the things that came to my mind right away when I heard the rumor of that sale. I mean, but at the same time, again, these are all rumors so far. We've heard that they want to sell, but there's nothing in place that says it's going one way or the other yet. But man, when I heard it was Saudi, that was the first thing I thought.
Yeah. I mean, and I just can't imagine it being like, Vince, how much of a control freak he is over his company, dude. It's been shown. I can't imagine him saying, hey, if I sell to them, this could potentially lead to this. And if he was going to put the WWE in a bad position, potentially, I just can't see him doing something like that. But at this point, I mean, money is money, right? Who knows what's really going on with this guy. But like you said, man, so much talent wouldn't be able to go. MVP, another one, he wouldn't be able to go there. It would be a trickle effect of
what was the thing with MVP again? Why he can't go
I
there?
can't remember right now, but I remember seeing him on that list of
I know he was one of the ones that can't, and like I said, because of his I think it's because of his rap sheet.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so like I said, when I heard that, I was like, oh my God. But the thing is, know that it's a possibility because of the fact that, they have the big relationship with Saudi already when you consider, the way they're doing Crown Jewel and all these big pay-per-views over there, that it's a possibility. But it's just a crazy thing to think because I'm going to be honest, man, I never thought in my lifetime that I would ever see the day where Vince McMahon would want to sell his company. I always just assumed that it was just going to go to Triple H and Stephanie.
Same.
Kane and Stephanie.
Same.
Yeah,
that's just one of those things you thought you'd just stay in the family. I mean, you never thought it'd go anywhere. And here we are. I mean, who's to say it does, though, right? I mean, it's all speculation and rumors.
And I mean, like I said, and like you just said, I mean, Triple H is still in control right now. Yes, Stephanie stepped away. And here's the other thing you got to take into account with that. Stephanie already wanted to take a step away before her dad was gone. Mm-hmm. And then when he left, she came back to make sure that the company was all right. So now that he's going to be back in the fold, this doesn't necessarily mean anything with her when you consider, she had already wanted to take a step away before. Who knows what that means? And again, this is all just our speculation as fans from the outside, but man, it's a crazy thought. It's a crazy
going. It sounds like it's going real fast. You know what I mean? Because what was it like last week?
Well, we just went from him being back in the company to deal with the rights deal to now we're just talking about they're going to sell the whole bitch.
Within like 48 hours, it was like Vince McMahon wants back in. And then he released a statement saying how he wants back in. And then they released another statement that they hired JP Morgan to help facilitate the sale. And then the next day it was like they're selling to Saudi. It's like things don't even move that fast in real life. You know what I mean? It's like I can't even sell my freaking refrigerator that quick. It just
unless there was already underlying business agreements beforehand, kind of facilitating the sale to be such a quick process.
Yeah,
for me, it wasn't really, I guess, such a big surprise when I seen the whole Saudi Arabia thing. To your point, Kyle, with the fact that they had already kind of been working together, and not to lump the Middle East as a whole, right? But they've, as a whole, been doing their best to kind of make their area more tourist friendly with like the World Cup. They've been really trying their best to actually like invite people to their region to have things why they would want to visit the Middle East, and besides just religious, type of things. And I feel like that's what my biggest thing was, is it would be a huge public relations type of thing if Saudi Arabia was able to, as a nation essentially own the rights to the WWE, I mean, they could really like pump up their selves throughout that process, you know?
Right.
Well, and I mean, I do believe there's some truth to the fact that I think Saudi Arabia does want to try to help WWE if there's going to be, because we do know the market that's over there. But man,
Yeah.
that's a wild thought. And then the thing is, does that hurt you as far as superstars wanting to come there and all the things that are coming on with that, dude?
I would think so. I would assume so. I mean, there's been rumors that there's a
and
list of
he brings
superstars
up a
out
good
there.
point too. I mean, is it going to just be like, we're going to talk about the Dana White stuff here in a minute. Is it another situation where even whether it is or it isn't, people are just going to watch it as it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he just said, sports washing, and they're doing their best to kind of like, hey, don't pay attention over here. Just pay attention because we're putting on these great events and stuff that you would like to see, and we have these cool things, but don't pay attention to this other stuff. So that's where I was saying with the public relations thing. I feel like they could really help themselves in that regard.
I just hope.
But
You know what's crazy is after all this, look at here's Vince McMahon's heel move right here. He comes back. He's like, I'm gonna sell this shit. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna sell it. Then he's gonna turn around at the end and be like, just kidding. I would never sell a company, guys. Come on. And then we're all gonna be like, oh, we love Vince again. Thanks, Vince. Thank you, Vince. And he's gonna strut out on Monday Night Raw doing the strut, and he's gonna tell how big and bad he is, how he's never gonna sell, and you should love me and all this stuff. And then it's all happy praises for Vince McMahon again.
it's just honestly, it's just crazy. I mean,
He knows what he's doing. He is the master heel, bro. He knows how to get us.
It's just crazy for him to step back in, no matter what the circumstances, to like, for him to be at the age that he was and everything to kind of play out the way that he did, for him to kind of have a clean break, essentially, where people weren't necessarily talking about it anymore. They were just talking about the product. He did have his family in and everything like that. And now all of a sudden, hey, we want to sell the company. Hell, I'm going to help. I can understand the point of him coming in because he has the business relations throughout the years of doing this, where he may be able to get more pennies on the dollar. For every dollar spent, he'll get an extra 30 cents or some shit. But at the same point, is it worth it? I don't know. Is the juice worth the squeeze in this one? I'm really not sure. It's a weird circumstance.
I
Man.
friggin' hope not. Let's just put it that way. Friggin' hope not.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Anybody who's been watching wrestling for any length of time, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard the rumor of a sale of WWE.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's never been like anything to this degree where Vince had to basically force his way back into the WWE. And then let's not forget the fact that not only has he forced his way back in, as of right now, he's the chairman of the board already again.
Already.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, as soon as Stephanie left,
man.
Dude, like, look, bro, whether you like the guy or hate the guy, the one thing that will always have to be said about Vince McMahon long after he's dead, he's got to be one of the smartest motherfuckers I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not just saying that as like a wrestling fan, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to set yourself up in such a way, you got to wonder, think about it. His competition, he put his competition out of business, and then Ted Turner basically got forced out of his own company. You got to wonder if when all that went down, if he said, you know what, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't ever happen to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure
you got to wonder, because, I mean, if there's one thing you can say, that guy hasn't made a lot of the same mistakes more than once, except apparently in these allegations. But
those times were so different then, if you're comparing like, oh, I won't let that happen to me type of thing. Yeah, he may have played that ball with the whole like, I'm gonna buy majority stock in my public company. So even though we're a publicly traded company and we can make money on the stocks and everything like that, he did it in a way where, to your point, he's a far and beyond majority owner, right? Majority owner in most circumstances would just hold 51%. That's the normal, like, circumstantial. He wanted to make sure that he was well and above majority in this circumstance. If your claims were true with the 80%ish, that's a very, very huge amount of controlling stake. And even I'm no stock wizard by any circumstance, but if you control that much stock, you physically can't sell off that much stock in your company, whether it, even if you own that stock in a Nike, you can't sell off that much of that stock without tanking the stock. You can't, you know what I mean? So if he owns that much, it's such an interesting ball game in that regard, even unless like it's a full-fledged sale where it goes as a one, push off. You can't just tank 80% of your company as like, oh, it's open game for 80%. Here you guys go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, dude. And I mean, to Josh's point, like that's the thing. I don't think even if it is going to be sold, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen. Hell, it might not happen for 6 months, maybe the end of the year or whenever the rights deal is up. That's the thing. It ain't going to just happen. This is going to be like a long, drawn out thing. Whomever gets it, whether it's somebody in the States,
48
whether
hours
it's Saudi,
later.
that's what was.
it
so
ain't going to
crazy
be
me
just
is,
like, here we go. Let's transfer. Let's say they get $8 billion. Here you go. Here's $8 billion. That's not just how this shit works.
Not to mention, like Kyle, we were talking about this on the phone earlier. It's primetime wrestling season. This is Royal Rumble season. This is WrestleMania season. Wrestling, all eyes are on WWE right now in this quarter. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this is getting more eyes to the product or what it's going to do for it, but I can't see it happening this fast, dude. We kind of fell for that yesterday. You know what I mean? It don't really go like
shit.
that.
The way they came out with it sounded like it was all going to.
We just
I
need
don't
to
know if we
put it
fell
on
for
a
it
let's
as much
put
as
the stocks on a ladder match and just everybody go fight.
Well, dude, have you seen the memes with Triple H and Vince where it's custody of WWE on a pole match?
Oh my god, that's perfect.
And that's a damn good point too. He goes, "Do you think they leaked it to try to drive up the price?" I mean, dude,
Smart
you
move.
gotta think. You gotta think they're getting at least like if they got $1 billion just on the rights deal last year for SmackDown, they gotta be getting like what do you think? 8-10 billion.
Yeah, I was about to say, have you guys seen a number for potential sale?
Yeah, I don't even. That's
if the UFC got bought for $4 billion, bro. WWE's got to be at least double, if not more of that.
10, I'd say, give or take, maybe.
That's what I was kind of trying to contemplate what that number would be in my head earlier, and really, like you were saying, I don't know like where to even begin. Right, like they put on, so many events or their rights deals that they run 2 separate ones because they run Raw and SmackDown plus the pay-per-view
and
setup
NXT
and everything like that, and like there's so much money to be made in just a 10-year process if you were the owner of the company, as long as you were able to keep things moving the same, keep same, if you know what I mean. But man, I don't know. I don't know what it would be worth, because is it worth what the company would make is projected to make within a 10-year process? Because if that's the case, it would be probably 15 billion.
But I mean, you got to figure they're not just making the rights deals, plus they're about to have a new one come up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to realize that's, I think, why there's such the talk about their, the sale, because you're essentially, if you're whoever buys this, you're going to spend whatever the number is, let's say $8-10 billion, whatever, but you're going to immediately make $1 billion back.
Right.
If things stay the way they are with just the Fox deal alone. So, I mean, dude, it's crazy to see the way it's playing out, but I will say this, dude. Never in my lifetime did I ever expect that I would see a time where Vince McMahon would ever sell his shit off.
Who's the current front runners, Kyle? I remember there was a list.
I've only really heard Saudi. I've heard NBC. Because Disney. Of Peacock. I've heard Disney too. I've heard Tony Khan's name in the pot. There's a lot of people.
Man, let's start saving our money. Let's save wrestling. Let's say
when you can find a way to just have a vacuum, just start vacuuming money, then maybe I might have enough money for $1 billion.
Start printing it, man. My house ain't big enough to hold that kind of money.
Kyle, you got good credit, right? You can sign for it, right?
I'll co-sign
about that.
I'll co-sign for you.
About that, dude. All I know is it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time in the WWE, especially when you're considering the fact that, like you said, J-Bone, we're on the road to WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble is the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. We'll have to see how things play out headed into WrestleMania, because let's not forget, They've already sold 100,000 tickets to WrestleMania without a main event, without, everybody's talking about The Rock and all this stuff, but nothing's been announced with The Rock, so there's no guarantee that he's going to be there. There's no main event, there's no anything yet, and they've already sold 100,000 tickets, two of which are mine. But
not to interrupt, but I think it was Ariel Helwani that pointed this out, that the WWE and UFC both have something that every other fight set / combat promotion wishes that they could, which is the ability to just sell out events and venues without even informing people what the fights necessarily are yet. Like they have a way of just people know that, hey, UFC is coming to New York. This is going to be one of their, high-end pay-per-views of the year. People are going to buy that. Doesn't matter if the main event's to be determined. Doesn't matter if all you have is the opening fight. People are going to try, do their best to get in there. And it's the same thing with the WWE. Especially
in WrestleMania, I was going to say WrestleMania is a thing of itself. Like WrestleMania has trumped Super Bowl. WrestleMania has trumped the World Series. It has come into the point where that's why people are bidding so hard to get WrestleMania into these cities, because all the people that it attracts. I mean, just since I've started going to WrestleMania just for vacation or for the shows at this point. I mean, dude, at this point, I've been to Orlando. I've been to New Orleans. I've been to New York. I've been to Dallas. I mean, I'll be going to LA here this year. I mean, you've got, and those are all cities that you got people flocking from all over the world. I mean, dude, I've met people from Amsterdam and every fucking thing else, Australia, and people that I've kept in touch with all this stuff. And that's what makes WrestleMania so crazy. So for all of this stuff to be going on as we head into WrestleMania, and we're not even to the Royal Rumble yet. We're only like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from the Royal Rumble,
2 weeks.
We got the like Josh is talking about in the comments, dude. You got the impending return of Cody. We already know you have that going into it. Maybe you see Cody and Roman. There's still the talk of maybe does The Rock come back and all those things. Who knows what's going to happen? But man, it's just a crazy time for all that. And man, if you're Triple H, how are you feeling about this? Do you think that there's a
what the fuck, guys?
He's got to
come on.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me type of feeling, like, I don't know, man.
Or do you think it's a thing though where they work something out to where it's like, okay, well, we're going to sell you the company, but I want Hunter to stay in to oversee creative of what.
I mean, I could definitely see that, because especially with
because that can be a thing, dude. Like you can work shit like that out to where
there wouldn't be anybody better. You can't just for instance, when the UFC was bought out,
WCW
right?
did.
Well, when the UFC was bought out, right, they definitely made sure that Dana stayed in as a figurehead. I mean, granted, the organization that bought the UFC was also the manager of Dana White, so it's a little bit of a different situation, of course. But that being said, they made sure that was part of the deal was, hey, you're going to help facilitate the transition to our new era, because we know that you're familiar with not only the workings, but in a wrestling circumstance, I mean, you're in control of so much of just the fate of people's careers and what's going to be popular and what's not going to be popular, and how people are going to perceive it all and stuff is just a whole nother aspect. But you can't just pull somebody like that and say, oh, hey, interject random guy that we like
now hiring.
Corporate.
But we've seen it though, Corey. That's the thing. For you being somebody who's been out of the loop, though, that's exactly what happened to WCW. You had Jim Herd and all them guys come in there, and they wanted to turn Ric Flair into fucking Spartacus.